A pro-Russian threat group is believed to be behind an attack blocking access to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's official website earlier this week. The attack, which is called a DDoS attack, appears to have been timed to coincide with the government's meeting with the Ukrainian Prime Minister. This is the latest example of Canada seeing a rise in cyber threat activity. For more on this, we're joined live by Humber College cybersecurity experts, Francis Sims. All right, Francis, this is some new terminology to me. So let's start with what is a DDoS and how is this different than a typical hack?
Yeah, so a DDoS is a distributed denial of service attack. Basically what's happening there is, think about you going to a website and you hit refresh on your website. Well, imagine if you did that like a million times in a row and then you had a million people doing it at the same time. What happens in that scenario is the website can't handle it and it basically shuts down. It could go offline, it could become really, really slow, but basically people cannot access it. So you can imagine in a scenario like if it was a critical thing like your hospital, you may not be able to access your patient records. But for generally speaking, these types of attacks are kind of like a snowball, right? If you're lobbing snowballs at a building, right, it does a lot of damage maybe on the outside and it's highly visible, but really it's not, you're not actually getting any data and you're not inside the network. So it's sort of high profile, high visible, but it does sort of minimal damage overall.
Okay, so highly visible, but does not penetrate further into the cyber infrastructure. But this wasn't the only incident. So how have Russian hackers, having the chance to gain access to Canadian natural gas infrastructure?
Yeah, that particular style of attack is what we call a critical infrastructure attack, and that's more concerning. And I know that the government is actively doing everything they can to prevent these types of attacks. Really, those things happen two ways. One is typically it's through some sort of compromised username and password. Somebody gains access through somebody's information, or it's via some sort of vulnerability, right, in the system. What we don't know, what we've been told is that there has been no damage to Canadian, to the infrastructure. But what we don't know is what actually happened when they were inside, right? Typically, these types of organizations use this type of attack for reconnaissance, right? And so they might have been in there for a period of time. We just have no idea, right? This is not dissimilar to what happened a couple of weeks ago with the attack on the city of Toronto. In that particular situation, the attackers went in and they potentially took data without actually disclosing that data was breached for some period of time. We don't know, but what we do know is that the Canadian government has sort of top-notch security experts that are looking into this, right, with high priority.
Yeah, as they should be, especially considering it keeps happening more and more frequently. Francis Sims with Humber College. We're going to have to leave it there for today. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a great day.